Welcome back. This is part 2 of the LINs matrix, and now we are looking at the scoring tools. So in the first half, we were worried about coming up with actual variables, variable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that we're going to scope out our deal. Now that we know that, we're going to focus on this side of the chart. We'd like to get intermediate benchmark and need or no deal in order to put values on each one of our variables. Okay, so where do we begin doing this? It depends on our situation, but the first thing we're going to look for is to see if there is a widely accepted, established, external, objective price benchmark. If there is something that's out there and is being widely used in the market, we have to either use it or we have to find a way to undermine it for our case. So the example I often use is for an objective third-party benchmark is the price of oil. The price of oil doesn't really vary. It is what we sometimes call fungible, which means one barrel of London Brent crude is the same as any other barrel of London Brent crude. And I can go to any website, any financial website or financial newspaper and look up yesterday's closing price of London Brent crude, and it will be the same everywhere. And it will be widely accepted. And if I'm selling oil, that's great. If I'm selling electronics, though, someone might try to say, hey, most of your product is plastic, so since oil went down by 25% over the last month since we started talking, you should lower your prices to reflect that. And now you may find a way to undermine that because you don't feel like cutting the price of your electronics products because the raw material price of the shell has dropped. So sometimes you have to invent your own benchmark, and surveys are a good way to do that. Studies are a good way to do that, focus groups. And sometimes your big concern is undermining their benchmark. So if there's an intermediate benchmark that's widely accepted, you can't just ignore it. You may have to work with it. But that doesn't mean that that is your L price. This is your I price. How do you get to the L? By adding expensive service, if you're the service provider, by adding expensive services or value. So ask for your better L price by tying your offering to value or extra service or some added value. So sometimes you say, we're going to share technology and know-how. Sometimes you'll say, I will buy more than the average customer you have, or I will buy on a regular basis, and I will give you visibility into that. Sometimes you say, our brand is so prestigious that just being associated with us is going to give you more business. And the same logic applies to the end price. If someone is trying to get you to lower your price, you'll say, all right, we'll lower the price, but you're not getting anything extra. And things that you thought were included will not be included. And the ultimate example of this is airlines charging for carry-on luggage, where if you even plan on using the overhead storage, you're going to have to pay a premium for that. That is the ultimate in lowering the benchmark and charging extra for every additional feature. Sometimes, though, there won't be an objective benchmark. It'll be a unique asset, or it'll be a service that you're providing. So now you have to assign your own values. So in the beginning, in part 1, we talked about how to make our goals SMART, specific and measurable. I said, for now, just worry about qualifying and we'll quantify later. Well, now it's time. So if you're in a good position and you need to invent your own values, you're going to start with the L. And you've got, this isn't really your idea. Someone else is approaching you and you're pretty happy with the status quo. You're happy with your BATNA. Now you can put a premium on your L price on what you would accept from him, what you're going to ask for. You're going to ask for a very attractive price because you'd rather not move. So now you can start at the L and you can do wish fulfillment things. Let them make the first offer and then act like an avoider. So you're going to be building your matrix off that L. If you're weak, and the example I use here is if you're dealing with the government about taxes, or you're dealing with a regulator about regulations, If you're weak, you've got to start your analysis down at your N level, because you need to make this deal happen. So you're going to do whatever that you're going to do the minimum necessary to appease the other side. So figure out ways, if you're doing business with someone, a government or a regulatory authority, your job is to do the paperwork as well as possible the first time. So you're negotiating for information. If you're dealing with, say, a buyer, and they are going to beat you up and beat you down to the very lowest price, so what you might do is figure out ways of getting paid that don't include cash. So you'd be negotiating for non-cash items or non-cash issues, like using their connections, using their customer base, using their logo, possibly even linking to their website. Figure out ways of getting paid that will help you, that don't involve them forking over actual cash, because for some people that is a fate worse than death. So a couple of best practices about style. When your opening style is your L. You're opening with your L. That's why we're doing this. The L is not some theoretical, benchmark off in the future or off in the distance. It is it's the first thing you're going to say about value. You're going to open with your L. So that means no apologies, no hemming and hawing, no long introductions, no insecurity. You're going to say, okay, this is what we think is fair, pitch, 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 and you're going to show them your work. You're going to show them your numbers, and you're going to be very, you're putting your L out there. You're not showing him your N. N is secret, but your L you make as public, as quickly, and as official as possible. This is anchoring. I don't want you to do the opposite of anchoring, which is secret concessions, which is where you listen to them, they grab the agenda, they make the first offer, and you now feel embarrassed because your L is so much higher than what they're offering that you lower your price, you go to your I level, or you go between your L and your I, because you think you're being more reasonable. Don't do this. This doesn't help you. They don't know that you've modified your opening offer. They think it's still your crazy throwaway L. They don't know you're compromising. So don't do it in secret. And if you're squeamish about this, write it down, put it on a PowerPoint, send it in an email, write it out and slide it across the table dramatically. But don't be squeamish about giving your L. Okay? L is where we start. That's the whole idea. Your closing style is where you are planning on ending up. And this describes the relationship you have with the other party. Your closing style is real life from now on. So start at the end. This is, define what you want from the other side. And if he can't give you that, then if you can't get that in the negotiation, then you got to walk away. So define the relationship and the deal you want to end up with. And that's your closing style, and you work backwards to get there. If your decision is you'll never see them again, this is a one-off, then don't invest heavily in the relationship unless there is a really good reason. If you do plan on seeing them again, if you plan on buying from them over and over, or selling to them over and over, or they're gonna hold your molds and hold your designs, if you plan on having a relationship with them, and that means seeing them again, then you've got to structure your variables and your opening offer to reflect the constructive, friendly, professional relationship you want to have. So I'm speaking now to my New Yorkers, and the other New Yorkers in the room. Don't start off like all tough guy and hostile and aggressive, and then gradually allow the other side to win you over. I call this the cuddly pirate routine, where you come off all distant and hostile and you gradually soften up because you think that will make it like a non-cash concession. Don't do this. If you're working with people from different cultures, you may never get to move off that tough guy approach, and it will disqualify you as a legitimate partner. Okay, final word. The LIN matrix defines your ask. This is what your whole negotiation has been leading up to. Now your job is to deliver your L and to start the second phase of the negotiation, the tactical phase, when you're talking to someone else. This lays the groundwork for your tactical and your concession map, which we're going to look at next. Remember, you only get what you negotiate for, and if you don't ask, you don't get it. So make sure your opening L is scoped out to include everything you care about in this negotiation. Okay, thanks very much. I will talk to you again soon.